Well, as you know, local elections are literally just round the corner. And we have a very interesting situation arising in Cornwall. And it seems to me that the Cornish fishermen, who were, again, one of the big, not only these Brexit, they were Brexit supporters, chomping at the bit every time they possibly could to try and sell the idea of Brexit. But of course, if you've been following this, well, very sorry saga now for any period of time, within literally a period of 4 months, they have gone from celebrating to the point of we have had and we have seen on surprisingly this has not gone on British TV, but there you go. On Danish TV, we had a fisherman saying he regretted voting for Brexit and that if he could go back, he would never have voted for Brexit. He would actively campaign to remain. Because now it is becoming all too clear of just how much those fishermen actually needed to be in the single market, the customs union, and even the common fisheries policy. This was one of the things where you'd think these people, or at least these fishermen, would at least be knowledgeable about this subject to a level. But it's not surprising, really. I mean, sometimes you meet some people in the field and they seem really knowledgeable about certain types of subjects. But in this case, it does seem that all the fishermen in this area, I think they drank the Brexit Kool-Aid. I think there's no other explanation. They drank the lies of Farage and Boris when they were told all these fanciful lies about how wonderful it would be, on the other side of the fence. It's that look guys, the grass is greener on the other side. It'll all be unicorns and rainbows when we get there. And it hasn't turned out that way whatsoever. We've seen the mollusks trade, mussels, oysters, lobsters, completely banned from entering the EU because, surprise, surprise, now that we are a third country, our water levels are not up to the standards that a third country should be at to be able to enable that trade. Not only that, but fish are basically being priced out of the market to a point where they can only now catch so much, and then that's it. They just can't catch any more because we are now a third country. And as we've said before, multiple times, pretty much the vast percentage of catch that British fishermen catch does not go to the UK, it goes to the EU. And I've explained this hundreds of thousands of times. The fishing industry in the UK is facing a very set of very unique problems. And I've said none of it was caused by the EU. None of it at all. I mean, one of the biggest things you have is that the British people just do not eat fish. That's it. We just do not eat fish. We just don't. And the idea that we can now somehow eat all these extra fish that they're now able to catch, or have all these extra mollusks and lobsters, not going to be able to do it. I mean, if you went out on the street with a live lobster, or like a just caught lobster, and just said, right, do you know how to cook this? You would not find a lot of people with the skills to be able to do it. And I guarantee you, if you went around Barnsley, you wouldn't be able to find a single person that could cook a lobster or even know how to cook like a proper fish without it at least being processed. And even then, a lot of people would not go for fish as their first form of option for food. But anyway, we're going to jump into a very interesting article about this because it looks like that the fishermen are out for revenge. But before we do that, please do remember to hit that like, share and subscribe button. And of course, down below there is a link to my Patreon page, as well as a one-off donation where you can buy me a coffee. And thank you for, buying me a coffee. And thank you to all those other people that do support me that way. So, this comes from the London Economic. The title is Cornwall set to punish Tories for Brexit betrayal in local elections. Boris Johnson's goal of a Conservative-led council in time for the G7 summit in Cornwall this June looks to be in jeopardy in several wards as voters are prepared to rebel over the Brexit betrayal of the fishing industry. And this was not a surprise. This was not a surprise at all. Go back to some of the videos we were making just before we left, and we were warning Boris was going to betray someone. And it does look like that he has betrayed the fishermen, and it was not, not surprising in the least that this has happened, because, as we said before, no one would take Britain's economy to the wall for the joys and the wonders of the fishing industry. It was just not worth it. There are other industries that are worth far more to the UK economy than the fishing industry. So Boris was never ever going to go to the wall for the UK fishing industry. So, according to reports in The Guardian, the party could be for an upset on the back of the UK-EU trade agreement, which has wreaked complete havoc on local fishing fleets. Michael Burstow, a Brexit supporter, told the newspaper that he will not be supporting the Tories on the 6th of May. He said, "We are not going to forget when it comes to voting time," he says. "I do not feel like the Conservatives deserve my vote at the moment." Yeah, and by the way, this is not going to change. So this is absolutely fantastic for us, because this now provides a huge momentum and a huge push to actually rejoin the single market and custom union. And I've always said that should be, at the moment, our main priority and goal, because all UK businesses and industries will support that, including the fishing industry. And it will be absolutely fantastic if we can literally turn all the fishing industry that were mass supporters of Brexit and leaving this, to now get them to turn around and actually say, yeah, it was a mistake to leave these. Because, as I've said before, once we join those two things, the argument then to rejoin the EU is just a no-brainer. Really, it's just so simple, and that's how we do it. Anyway, he continues to say, the deal, he says, is the worst of all worlds. It's a complete sellout. It's a betrayal. The deal we have is a lose-lose. We haven't got a fraction of the borders, and the EU fishing boats, have still got all access to our waters. Johnson has lost his support. I cannot vote Conservative. Some 80% of the fish landed in Newlyn usually gets exported to Europe. All the time, every time we do a story like this, that always comes up. And we said, again, going all the way back all this time, saying, how are you going to cope with the fact that the vast majority of fish caught goes to the EU? How are you going to square that? And of course, answer came back none, or it was the usual, that's just Project Fear. Well, it's Project Reality now. So, but Brexit has caused all manner of problems since January, and the village current Conservative councillor, Roger Harding, is not standing again. He also believes the fishermen's frustrations may cost his party. They will lose votes over it, he says. In a way, the fishermen were expecting something that just could not be delivered, but certainly there is unhappiness. They will be showing their discontent. So that's even more interesting, that you have this Conservative councillor knowing full well that the promises that the Conservatives and the Brexiteers were saying could not be delivered. It just goes to show you the amount of dishonesty there really was over Brexit. So the Lib Dems look most likely to mop up the votes as a result. Tharla Marrington, standing for the party in Mousehole Newlyn, said the St Berry election, the St Berry electoral division, if this is keen to help put the port outside the EU, but is steering clear of issues connected to Brexit. It's been so decisive. To me, it's happened. We need to move on. I literally don't mention it, she says. She will be looking to upset the Conservative candidate William Bavho and ex-Momentum leader John Lawsman, who's standing for Labour. You know, this is the case of, all the fishing industry was pretty much backing Brexit from the get-go, and they were being backed by people like Nigel Farage, who was basically telling them lies about how wonderful it would be to get out there. But here's the thing, and we've said this before in this video just now, and every single time we cover this subject, the problems that the UK fishing industry was suffering were never, ever caused a single thing by the EU. It was all lack of investment, lack of support for the fishing industry. The fact that, again, British people do not eat fish. The fact that you are facing industrialization versus small boat fishing. And again, there are these big super trawlers that can essentially do in a day what it takes these smaller boats to do in about a month. And again, this is again another issue that is being played out here. Again, not talked about. We've also got the fact that there's been a movement from like the actual catching of fish to processing on land. That is not talked about a lot, but that is another issue that is affecting the fishing industry, and the fact that has not been properly supported. The Tories, we've said it before, are all about short-term gains. They don't really care for anything long-term. So as far as they were concerned, supporting the fishing industry a couple of months ago was fine for them, got them over the line. It was perfectly fine then. Now, they're not so bothered. And as usual, I warned people time and time again, people like Farage, were not a fisherman's friend. The Conservatives were never going to go to bat to the lengths that the fishermen actually wanted and were promising the fishermen that they would. Again, turned out not to be true. And the moniker always remains true. Never trust a Tory. So, as always, thanks for watching. Please do remember to hit that like and share button before you leave. And also down below there is a link to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me a Coffee, where you can, buy me a coffee. And as always, thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you all next time.